Welcome to KOT Aero, knowledge on tap for the aerospace community. Subscribe for free at kotaero.com. All right, let's dive into it.
Ever tried building one of those model airplanes? You know, with all the tiny little pieces.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Now imagine scaling that up.
To a real aircraft.
Yeah, talk about complex.
Oh, for sure.
But Airbus isn't just building one.
No.
They're making hundreds.
Hundreds.
While juggling global economics and,
Oh, and climate change too, right?
oh yeah, a changing climate.
Yeah.
Can't forget that.
Right.
Their latest financial report kind of gives us a peek behind the curtain at
Yeah.
how they're doing. Ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I think this report is really a window into one of, like the giants of the aviation industry.
Yeah.
It's their unaudited financial statement for the first 9 months of 2024.
Oh, wow.
And there's a lot to unpack.
Okay, so first things first, good news.
Okay.
Almost 500 aircraft deliveries so far this year.
That's a lot of planes.
That's a lot of planes.
Yeah.
Makes sense that revenue's soaring, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the quantity. Their air power division, so that's the one focused on military aircraft, is seeing some serious growth.
Interesting.
And let's not forget their helicopter services. They're performing really well, too.
So profits are up.
Yeah.
That's always good to hear.
Yeah.
But I think you mentioned earlier there's some nuance there.
Well, yeah.
Spill the beans. What's the catch?
It's not all sunshine and rainbows, right? Remember all those complex long-term projects we talked about?
Yeah.
Well, Airbus's Space Systems division is facing some headwinds.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Think like evolving costs and tricky schedules,
Right.
The kind of stuff that keeps those project managers up at night.
Yeah.
And this has actually led to some pretty hefty financial charges for Airbus.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so even giants like Airbus got to deal with unexpected bumps in the road.
Oh, for sure.
Makes you wonder what else is causing turbulence, right?
You hit the nail on the head. Geopolitical instability, especially with, what's happening in Ukraine.
Right.
It's creating a real ripple effect. Their supply chain is feeling the pressure,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to sourcing titanium,
Oh.
which is a key material for aircraft construction. They are actively looking for solutions, but it's definitely a tightrope walk.
Yeah. It's like a constant game of chess, isn't it?
It is.
Trying to anticipate
Right. Absolutely.
and navigate these global shifts. Speaking of complex challenges,
Mm,
I imagine the push for sustainability adds another layer to that whole puzzle, huh?
absolutely. Airbus is very aware of how climate change is impacting both their operations and, the whole aviation industry.
Right.
They're deeply committed to reducing emissions,
Mhm.
investing in sustainable aviation fuels. And get this, they're even using something called an internal carbon price.
An internal carbon price.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting, but I'll admit I'm a little fuzzy on the details there. Could you break it down for me?
Sure.
And for our listeners who might be wondering the same thing.
So basically, Airbus is putting a price tag on their own carbon emissions,
Okay.
like a way for them to factor in the environmental cost of, doing business.
Alongside the financial costs.
Yeah.
Right.
This helps them make smarter choices. It encourages them to prioritize the sustainable options, even if they cost a little more upfront.
Hmm.
Pretty cool, huh?
That's really clever. Okay, back to those impressive aircraft deliveries for a second.
Okay.
I read that Airbus is focused on ramping up production even further,
Yes.
especially for their A320 family of planes.
Yeah, the popular one.
Yeah.
That's right. They're aiming for a whopping 75 A320 aircraft per month by 2027.
Wow.
That's a massive jump from where they are now.
Huge.
And it requires serious investment, operational efficiency. There's definitely risk involved, but the potential reward is huge if they pull it off.
So high risk, high reward. Seems to be like Airbus's motto these days.
Maybe.
Speaking of bold moves, this report also mentions a bit of an acquisition spree.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me more.
They've been busy. Full ownership of Airbus OneWeb satellites.
Wow.
Snapping up companies like Aravel. Those are the folks behind those super cool drones,
Yeah.
And Infoda's cybersecurity specialist.
Interesting.
It definitely paints a picture of a company that's looking ahead,
Yeah.
and strategically positioning itself for the future.
And speaking of the future, there's that intriguing potential acquisition of some major activities from Spirit AeroSystems.
Right.
That could really shake things up, huh?
It could. It could reshape their manufacturing footprint, particularly in the U.S. and Northern Ireland.
Wow.
It's a developing situation, so we'll have to see what happens. But one thing's clear, Airbus isn't afraid to make big moves to stay ahead of the curve.
It's like they're playing a high-stakes game of global strategy.
It is.
Now, we can't talk about a company's financials without mentioning the legal side of things. What's the latest with those ongoing legal battles?
Right.
Specifically, the Air France Flight 447 trial and the NH-90 helicopter dispute with Norway.
These are definitely situations worth keeping an eye on. Both carry potential financial and reputational risks for Airbus.
Yeah.
The Air France trial in particular, it's such a complex and tragic case,
Right.
It's been going on for years.
Oh, wow.
A full retrial is scheduled for 2025, so we'll likely revisit this down the road.
Okay. So we've covered the good news, the challenges,
Yeah.
and even some intriguing details about Airbus's acquisitions and legal entanglements.
Right.
But before we go any further, I want to hear from you.
Sure.
What stands out to you so far? What's catching your attention?
It's really fascinating to me. It's this contrast we're seeing. On one hand, Airbus is posting really strong overall financial numbers.
Yeah.
But on the other, their space systems division seems to be struggling.
Right.
It really highlights this complex balancing act that they have to manage across all their different business areas.
It's like they're juggling flaming torches while riding a unicycle.
It is.
But let's zoom in on those space systems troubles for a minute.
Okay.
The report mentions that the management team over there has been doing some serious soul-searching,
Yeah.
reviewing their major programs, updating their cost and schedule estimates.
And that soul searching actually led to a financial charge of almost €1 billion.
Wow.
That's not pocket change. And it shows that they're acknowledging that some of their telecommunications navigation observation programs are facing some real hurdles. We're talking potential delays, supply chain issues, even questions about whether they'll secure enough orders to make these projects worthwhile.
Oof. Sounds like they need to launch some fresh ideas up there.
They do.
But at least they're being realistic about the risks.
Right, exactly. They're not shying away from the challenges. In fact, the report hints that they're exploring some pretty significant strategic options for their space systems division.
Oh, like what?
Things like new cooperation models, portfolio reviews, even potential mergers and acquisitions.
So we could see some major shakeups in Airbus's space operations.
It's definitely on the table. And, this isn't just about dollars and cents. It's about Airbus's position in the rapidly evolving space industry. They're facing fierce competition from these new players. They need to adapt to stay in the game.
Now, while we're on the topic of challenges, let's talk about the A400M military transport aircraft for a minute.
Oh, okay.
This program has had its fair share of ups and downs over the years. What's the latest update there?
The A400M, it's been a little bit of a roller coaster ride with, some technical hiccups and cost overruns along the way.
Right.
But Airbus is still pushing forward. They delivered 5 new aircraft in the first 9 months of this year.
So they're determined to make it work.
It seems that way, but they're proceeding cautiously.
Okay.
The report highlights that, risks still remain, especially around the qualification of technical capabilities.
Right.
The aircraft's operational reliability, and of course, those persistent cost concerns. It's a long game.
Yeah.
And they're playing it carefully.
And they've got to keep their customers happy.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with that whole retrofit process in the works.
Right.
Military clients are not known for their patience.
Absolutely right. Customer satisfaction is paramount in this industry. Airbus is building for the long haul.
Yeah.
And that means establishing and maintaining trust with the governments and the airlines that rely on their products.
Speaking of customers, the report provides a breakdown of Airbus's revenue by geographical area.
Okay.
And it's pretty interesting to see how things have shifted compared to last year.
This is where it gets really interesting. While their overall revenue is up, they're actually seeing a decline in the Asia-Pacific and Middle East regions.
Oh, wow.
But hold on. Sales in North America are booming. It points to this, really dynamic global landscape for the aviation industry, with growth shifting to different corners of the world.
Now, let's talk about a topic that's close to everyone's heart these days, sustainability.
Yeah.
We touched on Airbus's commitment to reducing emissions earlier, but this report dives much deeper.
It does.
Into their efforts. They're talking about renewable energy, energy efficiency at their facilities, even exploring the use of biomass.
And let's not forget that internal carbon price.
Right.
€150 per ton of CO2.
Yeah.
We talked about that earlier. It's a powerful tool for driving sustainable decision-making within the company. By putting a price on their carbon emissions, they're essentially forcing themselves to consider the environmental impact of every choice they make.
It really shows that they're walking the walk.
They are.
Not just talking the talk.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, achieving these ambitious sustainability goals,
Yeah.
it's going to be a monumental task, right?
Absolutely. The aviation industry is a major contributor to greenhouse gas emissions.
Yeah.
There's no magic bullet. Airbus is focusing on several key pathways: renewing their fleet with more fuel-efficient aircraft, developing and deploying sustainable aviation fuels, investing in technologies that directly reduce emissions, making air traffic management more efficient,
Right.
and even promoting temporary carbon offsetting schemes.
So a multi-pronged approach.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. It's a complex problem that demands creative solutions.
Exactly. And the report emphasizes that this transition to a more sustainable aviation industry will require collaboration and innovation across the entire sector. No single company can do it alone.
Right.
It's going to take a collective effort.
Okay, one final point before we move on.
Mm-hmm.
The report reveals that Airbus has been providing financial support to some of their suppliers through something called supply chain financing arrangements.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure everyone's familiar with that term.
Right?
Can you explain it in plain English?
Sure. It's a pretty simple concept. Imagine you're a small business
Okay.
supplying parts to Airbus. You've delivered the goods, but you're waiting for payment.
Yeah.
That waiting period can sometimes be a real strain on your cash flow, right?
Of course.
Supply chain financing allows Airbus to step in and help their suppliers get paid faster by working with a third-party financier.
So it's like they're acting as a helpful middleman.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
Yeah.
Suppliers get their money quicker. And Airbus ensures a smoother flow of goods and services, which is especially important in today's, uncertain economic climate.
Speaking of economic uncertainty, it's no surprise that Airbus's net cash position has decreased since the end of last year.
Yeah.
They've had significant capital expenditures,
Right.
invested in securities, and of course there was that hefty dividend payout to shareholders.
Those are all significant factors, but it is crucial to note that they still have a very healthy gross cash position
Okay.
of over 21 billion euros.
Wow.
They're far from being strapped for cash.
That's true. So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
Revenue,
Yeah.
challenges, sustainability, even supply chains and cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
Before we wrap up, I'm curious, what's resonating with you the most from this deep dive? What sparked your thinking?
Honestly, for me, what's hitting home is just how massive and complex Airbus's operations really are. We're not just talking about building airplanes here.
Right. It's managing these intricate global supply chains, dealing with these unpredictable geopolitical situations, staying ahead of the curve in technology, and all the while striving for a more sustainable future. It's kind of mind-boggling.
It is. It's like they're playing 3D chess on a global scale.
Yeah.
Constantly adapting and strategizing. And this financial report, as detailed as it is, it's just a snapshot
Right.
of what they're facing. There are layers upon layers of information and research and analysis out there for anyone who wants to, really dig deep into the future of air travel.
So if we zoom out
Yeah.
and connect all these dots,
Yeah.
this deep dive wasn't just about numbers on a page.
No.
It was a glimpse into the forces that are shaping how we fly, how we connect, how we experience the world.
That's right.
From supply chain resilience to the quest for decarbonization,
Yeah.
Airbus is right there at the forefront,
Yeah.
grappling with the challenges and opportunities that are going to impact us all.
Think about it. The next time you buckle up on a plane, you'll have a whole new appreciation for the complex web of factors that got you there.
Right.
Airbus's decisions today, those bold moves, those strategic acquisitions, those investments in sustainability, they're shaping the world of aviation for years to come.
So what does this all mean
Yeah.
for you, the
It
listener?
is.
Well, it means that understanding these trends, these challenges, these innovations is more important than ever. Airbus's story is a window into the future of one of the most crucial industries on the planet.
This raises an important question. What do you think is the biggest hurdle Airbus needs to overcome? Is it geopolitical instability, the technological race, the pressure to decarbonize, or something else entirely? This deep dive was just the beginning.
Right.
The real exploration starts now with your curiosity.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder those questions. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.